Welcome to Financial Ginger. I'm your host, Jacob Johnson, your local insurance agent that's known for picking up his phone. I had this fun hat that my wife made me that I'm probably going to wear at some point today. But anyways, I thought that was really funny. Not Jake from State Farm.
Not Jake from State Farm.
I'm really excited. Today I've got Amy Kendall. She is all over the real estate stuff. So personal, commercial real estate, property management, helping people place tenants. That's actually kind of how we got in. Well, I mean, I've known your family for a long time, but I bought my first place, and then a year later I moved out and was like, how can I hold this property? And I was like, I don't know how to place tenants. I was really scared. And obviously I was talking to your mom, and she said, you need to talk to Amy. And so you guys worked and got a tenant, and they've been in there for almost 5 years now. So it's been great.
Fantastic.
It's been awesome.
It's a great success story.
I'm really excited to talk to Amy today and just kind of talk about wherever we end up going.
Awesome.
In real
I'm
estate.
excited. Thanks for having me here.
I'm excited for it. Okay. So first kind of super broad question. How did you end up in so many realms of real estate? Because like most people I know just do commercial real estate or just do property management. Like how do you end up doing all of that?
Yeah. I feel like mine was a pretty natural progression. So when I started in real estate, so I was a nurse for a long time. And when I started to transition into real estate, it was fairly slow, and it was for our own, personal properties. We wanted to continue to invest just like you, we thought, hey, this is pretty awesome. We're going to, grow this portfolio. I was managing the finances and the two properties that we had at that time. And just kind of sat down, did a 5-year plan and said, hey, we want to be here in 5 years, kind of worked backwards from there, cash flow wise. And then I thought, man, we're just short. It's like we were both nurses, working full time. And then I had once we had kids, then it was like, you never saw each other. You know what I mean? Like we're working
Especially
opposite shifts and trying to, not have sitters as often as you can. And so mine was real natural. That progression happened real naturally. I thought, okay, I'm going to get my license so that I can, save that commission. I can get that commission back. I can save that towards, the next purchase of real estate. So got licensed and then just started working very naturally with investors, right? Because that's what I was doing.
That's what you were doing.
I was analyzing properties every day, all day, because it was very exciting.
Might as well get paid to do that.
Yeah. And so then just people will ask you about it, right? Like, you'll buy something and they'll ask you about it, and you'll be, telling people. I remember you could always tell people at the hospital, you're there with them for 13 hours. You know what I mean? So you start to talk about your life and all the things. And so, then just started working just very naturally with investors. And so from there, just the analysis piece, I don't know how many people start in real estate on the investment side. For me, like I said, that was what I was doing. And so I was very drawn to it. So then my clientele ended up being very similar to me. And they started asking me to manage properties. And I was like, ooh, no,
that's a lot of work.
Terrible. That's the hard part of it. Like managing the properties is hard. And I hadn't had a professional manager at that point. We were managing everything. So learning all the things, all the hard ways.
And contracts and
contracts
enforcement and evictions. Have you ever had to evict someone?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. But that really, it teaches you, like, unfortunately, the hard lessons are, like when you learn things the hard way, you learn them very well.
You learn them very well. You're like, I'm not going to deal with that again.
Go back. So started, like, I was managing my own properties and decided that, I didn't want to manage for anyone else, just continued on doing the real estate thing. That exploded. And then I had a guy that had bought, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 properties with me.
Wow.
And was pretty aggressive with me, like was bothering me a lot. Like, really, I want you to do this. Can you please manage for me? Can you please manage for me? Like, fine. I could probably manage for you. I'm going to put my brother in there. I don't want to manage my brother. You know what I mean? Like, managing families are awful. I want there to be a barrier. Like, I don't want to ruin the relationship. So I said, sure, I'll get it. That's fine. I can probably manage one. I think we had probably 5 or 6 at that point.
Like, I'm already managing 6. I can manage one.
Probably manage one more. And
that's how they get you.
That's how you get it. And then you got to go set everything up. And in real estate, I set it up all wrong at the beginning and did not know that. Months and months after I'd been managing his property, was talking to another property manager, and just figured out that we were not running things. Like I didn't realize everything had to go through a brokerage. So like I was managing all his financials and had all the reporting and everything set up, but everything was supposed to go through the brokerage. So I had to go through and reset all of that up and caused myself a lot of pain and heartache that way. But ultimately, then once you have one, you just start going.
Economies of scale.
Yeah. So then I'm already still working with investors. So we manage right now, like we're close to 315 doors, and almost all of those are from my transactions. So through the years, like just people that I have transacted with on the real estate side. And so then you start managing commercial, right? Like then that's just, it's just goes from that. It's very naturally.
I can manage this tenant. I can manage that tenant.
Yeah, into commercial.
Triple net leases and all that.
Yeah. So not as much the triple nets. I do have one that we do triple net on that's an industrial. But that
sounds so cool.
It's very cool. Yeah. It's a little tricky, but it's very cool. So yeah, it was just very natural progression. I feel like, and why does it always get it? Probably because the investing piece, like that's probably the common thread is the investing piece. So and I think that's normal for most investors. So as an investor, so probably you, maybe not.
Oh,
like
I'm
as
getting
you
there.
Continue to grow.
I'm at 3 and I'm about to get number 4.
Yes.
So there we go. Maybe 5. We'll see what happens.
As you continue to grow or you get to 5, right? So say you said maybe your goal was 5.
The goal's 10.
Okay, 10.
10
so
doors is the
10.
goal.
So you're going to get there. And then what is that like old saying that you're going to arrive where you thought you wanted to be and realize that's not where you want to continue
There's
to go.
There's always another peak.
Right? Yeah. So that's what happened to us. So we built this portfolio and then we were like, this is
cool.
Like maybe we could go bigger. Maybe we could go do this. And I was managing, like a couple of the commercial pieces on the other side. And so then you're like, oh, I could probably buy that. Like now I kind of see like how it's working on the backside and, like the setup and everything. And so we bought that, we bought a commercial building just almost a couple years ago now, but and that was our first commercial building. And I would say
it's fun. You got to retrofit it.
Yeah, that's
now you're got like salons in there.
Yes, so we actually didn't end up with any salons.
Really?
Yeah. So
I remember it was advertised as salon space.
That was what I had. So I had bought. I went under contract on this property, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And the numbers made 0 sense. And I have never in my whole life made an emotional purchase with real estate. I am very analytical. I am like, nope. Or is there a path? Is there a path to, this cash flow? Can we make it work? Is there like some way to reposition this? So if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, I have no emotional connection. I do not know what happened on this property. And I was just like, I just want to buy this thing. I love it. Like, it's so pretty. It's old. It's like downtown Main Street on, like Lehigh Main Street downtown. It's a standalone building. You own both parking lots. Like it just was just this.
It's got that brick front.
It's brick, it's just this beautiful. It was ugly as crap actually when I bought it, but I thought it was beautiful.
Beautiful, ugly.
Brick building. Just, I love the old, I've some sort of just draw to the old architectural kind of stuff. So I did not know what I was going to do with it. And I remember going to get my hair cut the one day and my little gal had just moved. So she was in like a booth rental, right? She was like in a booth rental. She's like, oh, hey, you got to come over here. I went over her building. She had an 8x10 like room.
Yeah. Like
with a
probably
sink.
about this
she
size.
Had 2 sinks. You know what I mean? Like just the tiniest thing. I said, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And it's just in this all salon full of other, they had massage and like nail, like just a whole bunch of other like little businesses. They're all about the same size office. Literally probably 100 square feet, 150 maybe, tiny. And I am who I am. And I said, what are you paying for this? I said, this is adorable. Do you love it? Like, how is it? All the things, And then I'm like, what do you pay for this? And she's like, I pay $250 a week. And I said, I am so sorry. You pay what? okay. And then I went home that day and I said, I know what we're doing with that building. We can close it. And then we went and just changed all the office. So that was the original plan so I stubbed water and drains and everything to every single one. And I have zero people. None. Not even one.
I got 40 sinks and no one to use them.
Yes. I'm not kidding.
I'm the sink store.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But it worked out. So martial arts studio, we took gross incomes from that. On that, we were probably right around $4,000. We doubled it. We doubled the gross income on that thing. So
that's so cool.
Super cool.
First big win in buying your own commercial place.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I would say if you managed to run, you've definitely had many wins along the way.
Yes, but the commercial side.
The commercial one.
Sure.
And the first one you bought, that's so cool.
For me, I had represented a lot of other commercial buildings, but most of the commercial stuff I had done was multifamily. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
See, and multifamily I think is so interesting because so I have a guy that we recently had to tell him to go somewhere else for because we don't have very many good, my insurance office, we don't have very many good commercial residential type insurance policies.
1 to 4.
So it was a 5-plex. Brought by BYU.
Commercial. Yep.
And it's like, it's not a 4-plex. I can't do standard personal insurance. There's personal insurance options with LLC riders. Like there's all sorts of, but at 5 units, it has to be commercial.
Yeah.
And we had a company that was great for years and years and they non-renewed him because they left the state. They weren't making money.
Oh, yeah.
State Auto Meridian Insurance. If anyone's ever heard of them, they left in 2023. So they're gone. They non-renewed everyone at the end of 2024. Everyone was gone. And obviously he was upset because he couldn't find insurance that was reasonably priced compared to that, right? Like when you anchor someone here, it's like, wait, it's really this expensive.
Yeah.
It's like,
big
sorry,
difference.
that's the way it is. You know, like real estate.
Hard to make that work when you're talking, your margins on real estate are often quite
especially
small.
because it's a 5-plex, right? Like I imagine
you're
the
not an
margins
economy of scale then. You're just like this. You just
it's not
barely
20
got
units.
over.
It's not 100 units. It's not a whole apartment complex where they expect there to be 20% vacancy, right? Like it's a 5-plex. Yeah. And it was, I actually don't know what ended up happening, but we do all of his personal insurance still, but it was just like, sorry, you're going to have to, and we have a referral partner we use for commercial insurance that he's great and he has a ton of options and everyone we send his way is great. But yeah, it's just like, it sucks when you come across a situation where you can't help. And it's like, man, like I want to help, but yeah, it's interesting when you get to that 5-plex commercial side. I forgot the question I was going to ask about that. That's okay, I suppose.
It's five's a tough number.
I feel like 5 is the worst possible number for buying rental residential properties.
Right over that. Yeah, you're just not residential anymore. Everything's more expensive on commercial side, including typically your financing. So that can be
jumbo loans and costs and closing costs are higher. Well, like we even had one guy, he bought 10 4-plexes on the same property. Yeah. And we were able to do 10
every single
personal, on a personal form. And it was all owned by an LLC that he had set up. We were able to do a personal LLC rider on all those and it worked out great. The insurance was like half the price of getting a commercial policy, right?
Yes.
Like commercial insurance is great. And because they were all 4-plexes, even though we bought 40 of them, they're on personal lines policies all day and it works out way better. So I feel like 5 is the worst.
Yeah, it's a tough number, I would say, for sure. You're not scaled at that point, but
and it's
you
like,
can make them work. I would say sometimes, occasionally, it's harder.
I think the proximity to BYU is what's going to make it good is because generally there's going to be a little bit of a premium on rents to be right there.
Bedroom,
but it depends on what his cap rate is and all that stuff that I barely understand. But
the cap rate. Well, you're doing a 1031, so you're getting into it too, right?
Yes, I'm trying to figure all that out.
Yeah.
It's fun because selling one property, using the proceeds to buy 2 other properties. And that should be done by like April or end of March or early April. So that's moving.
Are you already
quickly.
under contract?
So I'm buying new builds.
Okay.
It was through Edge Homes, the first one. And so the 2 new ones are also Edge Homes. And it's like right across the street from where I'm living right now. Nice. So I'm like, it'll be easier to self-manage still. I actually had the realtor, Park Reeds. He was one of the first episodes I did. We were talking about 1031 exchanges for like a substantial portion of the thing. And I was like, hey, remember that property I bought from you like 6 years ago? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, we should talk and see what we can do with that. And he's like, I've got new ones going right across the street from where you're living right now. I'm like, okay, let's talk numbers. And so we kind of dove into it for a little bit. And the worst part of all that is the fact that I'm potentially, obviously I'm going to lose the tenants that I've had there that have been so great and awesome. And they've been great, but I was able to keep my rents were definitely below market. Yeah. But it's because I liked them so much and they were so good. And
Yeah.
So they're fine, and we're working with them to get the
give
listing.
them enough time to find something else.
Yeah. So it's going to work out. They're getting photos, and they're talking to the tenants, thankfully, dealing with all that for me.
That's part of the gig, Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's a fun situation. Trying to figure that out. But just high overview, 1031 exchanges. Let's briefly talk about.
Yeah.
What are they?
1031 exchange, you're kicking the can down the road, as they say. You are not paying taxes on anything that you make. So any of your capital gain isn't taxed. You don't get to touch the money at closing. Has to go into an intermediary fund. You can find those anywhere. Title companies usually have some sort of 1031
Escrow
arm.
account,
Yeah. They've usually got an arm that does 1031s. If not, there's a lot that
If not, find a different title company.
Yeah. Either that or you can't. Title companies charge. So it kind of depends on how familiar you are with a 1031. If you're real familiar with them and you know the process real well, I'd say you could go. There's a lot of companies that are real inexpensive that will work with your title company. So you can get, I think my last 1031 was $400 or something.
Oh,
so you can find any 1031 intermediary. They'll work with your title company, or you can just use their title company. For the contrast, most title companies around $1,000, $1,200 for 1031s, or you can find anywhere in between there. So don't touch the funds. It sits in an account. You've got 45 days. 45 days to identify and 180 to close.
Gotcha. So you have to close something in 6 months.
Yep. So
have something in a month and a half. So I had identified the property before I even.
Yeah, I mean, if you already have them, if you've already got it.
Because I was familiar with the product, I was comfortable with it, right? Like it wasn't like I'm going to try to buy a bigger property or I'm going to try like whatever. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I want to multiply the number of properties and the numbers work out where I'm like, even if I had to sell the property for less than what we think it's worth, there'll still be enough money to buy the two profitably. It's just going to be a matter of, are they going to cash flow this much? Or are they going to cash flow this much? Right.
Like,
it's a matter of
difference.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like when you're talking about those,
when you're talking about that much money
numbers. Yeah.
And so it's kind of scary because I've never done something like that before. Right. I talked about, my degree was in financial planning.
Yeah.
Right. I got one of the 8 areas of focus for financial planning is real estate. Right. So we learned about 1031 exchanges and tax and kicking the can and delaying it.
But if you're not doing that,
but I'm not doing it. So I don't know the how. I just know I know the how it works. And that's one thing I really like to emphasize, especially for people listening to my podcast, is some things you shouldn't do on your own. Right.
Yes. No.
Right. Like you shouldn't try to replace your own water sewage line. Don't do that. Idea. Right. Maybe you can manage a tenant by yourself. Right. The first time I ever did it, that's why I used you to get the tenant place. I'm like, I've never done this before. I don't want to do it wrong because I've had people where they didn't do background checks. Yeah. And then they got, 3 pit bulls that literally chew up. I had one person that in the same neighborhood as me where I bought, they got tenants. It was bought as a rental property. Yeah. 3 big dogs that literally ate the wood floor, like chunks of cat. I'm like, holy crap. And they spent $10,000 or $15,000 renovating the property. They had evict them because they didn't pay rent after 2 months in there. So they didn't do background checks. Right. And it's like, this cost them tons of money on a brand new house. It was brand new, first tenant.
Just devastating.
And so I was so scared when I had heard that story from my friend and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So get a professional.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
sure.
It's worth what it's cost. If it's not worth what it's cost, then you shouldn't have been doing the thing in the first place.
It might not be your wheelhouse. For sure.
It's like if I can't do that when you're buying the next property, you can sell the old property. I would have made money off of it, but it's like, that's not my dream vision. I want to hold on to the property. Yeah. So I figured out how to make it work. And then for the second one, I kind of learned from it and I decided I'm going to try doing this myself. And if I don't enjoy doing it myself, then I will outsource it.
Back. Yeah.
Right. Like I do the same thing with water heater flushes. I paid for someone to come and do my water heater. And then I looked into it a little bit more and figured I could do it myself. And now I do it every year on each of my rental properties.
It's not too bad.
No. And it costs me $15 of vinegar. Yeah. And I get to review the property. I get to talk to the tenants. I get to see how things are going. I get to kind of get a temperature for, right. And now my tenants are so comfortable. Like one of them just texted me and said, the one in the second place, and just said, hey, I'm planning to move out. Their thing expires in July or August. They're letting me know 6 months, 7 months in advance. Hey, I'm planning to move out. My uncle, I'm going to go live with him, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go help him, whatever, because he's retired and older. I'm like, cool. I'm like, they're not having 7 months in advance. And one of our 3, because it's 3 college kids, she wants to stay. We're going to help her find roommates. They're so, they're telling me we're going to find
enough in advance.
Yeah. And we're enough, we've gotten along over the last 2 or 3 years that they've rented from me where it's they were so nice. And I found them myself, right? Me and my wife did. I'm like, this is so cool that it's working out. And right. And if it had been bad and I like made a mistake in my contracts or whatever, I'm like,
Sure.
okay, I would go back to getting, because the contract you used was so helpful. Like that pet endorsement for their dog was great. And like just so much knowledge. And it was great because I was able to just call you a couple of times.
Yeah.
Right. Or
but then you can learn, right? And especially when you're managing your own, it's not rocket science.
No.
You know what I mean? You do have to be able to hold a boundary. So
yes.
For sure, if you're going to manage your own property, if you know about yourself that you're like, I'm a very nice human and I, am not very good about holding lines, then I would say probably don't manage it yourself. But if you're like, no, I can say no nicely and hold a line, and you know what I mean? I think people, then you're not going to get taken advantage of in that world usually.
Yes, people will.
So,
people definitely will.
And it's hard when you manage yourself sometimes because you create those relationships, right? Like you're a human, they're a human.
You're scared to raise rent when you need to.
And maybe it's not even about being scared, but it's just like, you have a relationship, like you've created a relationship with somebody. And so I think sometimes that's like having a manager can sometimes, just be that little in between, where it's just like, it's a professional relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just not your buddies anymore. But
well, and I'm used to that doing insurance, right?
Yeah,
I'm used to telling people, nope, that's not covered.
Yeah.
Nope, that is covered.
Yeah,
it's like, this is going to cost this much.
Yeah.
It sucks. You got a 16-year-old. It's expensive, but trust me, this is cheaper than you think it would be.
Yeah.
I had someone freak out the other day because they added a 16-year-old and it was like $55 a month. And if you know anything about auto insurance right now, most of the time when people are adding young 16-year-old drivers, it's like $120. I had one the other day, it was like $250 a month. Gosh, right. Yeah. And I'm just like, trust me, $55 is not a lot.
Expensive.
Like it might seem like expensive. Yeah. So it's managing people's expectations is really important. Yeah. So I've been really good about that up front. Like, hey, here's what I always, every time I had someone walk through the property, I'm like, hey, just FYI, I'm a big stickler about you changing the filters every 2 months.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm a big stickler about, I will charge you a late fee if you do not pay on time.
Yes.
Like it's in the contract. It's the maximum limit that Utah allows. I will enforce this.
You just have to.
Because I don't want there to be a problem between the two of us. I don't want to dislike you. I don't want you to dislike me. So I'm just letting you know, I will do these two things and I'm going to send you a text every other month saying, hey, change the air filter. Yeah. Right. Like,
and then it's fine. For the most part, I would say.
Yeah. And I'm sure there could be problems. Sure. There probably will be on the road. Right. Yeah. Everyone has problems. Right. People go through financial difficulty. Yeah. Right. Like me when I went in college. Right. Like, so it's fine. And you have to there's a reason why contracts are in place. Yeah. And making sure you have a good contract. And so
definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Allowing pets. I started allowing pets too.
Yeah. Oh,
well, I know because hard. I was using a property manager or to place tenants, you do have to, the AC, I think it's called the ACA or whatever the requirements are for service animals.
The ESA.
Yeah. You have to accept emotional support animals. Yeah. But there's like a little loophole. If you own 4 or fewer units or rentals, you can discriminate.
Yes, you can.
I've decided to allow pets on all of my properties. Yeah. Usually, right, like there's a probability they're going to cause some sort of damage. Like, so you charge a little bit of pet rent for them or whatnot, or a little bit of a non-refundable deposit or both. I've got both of those. Yeah. And people generally understand that. Like I understand that when I had a cat when I was in college, it's like, yep, it costs a little more.
They're just harder on properties. Whether you have a great dog that doesn't dig at the carpet or eat your wood floor, like it doesn't matter. Just having a pet is harder on the property. So you do need that. Like I know that people,
because I'm not just put in my pocket. I'm setting it aside for repairs.
I think a lot of times the perception from a tenant's perspective is, oh my gosh, they're just trying to capitalize because I have a pet. And really, it's a lot more expensive to maintain a property that's had a pet or has pets in it. And so, ultimately, what I tell my owners is, if you allow pets, that extra money that you're making you need to put it in escrow it. You need to put that in a savings account separate from this, because you're going to have to replace your carpets a lot sooner than somebody that doesn't, or your baseboards are going to go bad faster, or you're going to find cat piss in the friggin' spiral, you know what I mean? Like it's hard. And so you just have to bank on that happening, and you need to keep that set aside for later. So, but the perception is, a lot of times they're just trying to. And I don't know,
there probably are landlords that do
I'm sure there are.
And they're like, I'm just going to sell the property before I have to replace carpet.
Or they're slumlords, right? Like they're not planning on probably using that to maintain the property, but that's like a different.
But they do end up. You do end up having to maintain them.
It'll get you.
Yeah. Like I had to replace a microwave.
Yep.
I had to replace a washer and dryer because I supplied washer and dryer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had to get a new fridge because the fridge that I bought that was used when I moved in the property, I was thinking I was going to stay there for years.
Yeah.
I ended up being there for a year.
Yeah.
And so I got an old dinky used fridge and it puttered out like a year afterwards, and I bought a new fridge. So like I've had expenses already, and I've escrowed that and built that. So you need to know, make sure you're renting. Some people think my mortgage payment's this, I have to rent it for this much. And it's like, okay, well, what about insurance costs? What about the cost of repairing things when tenants move out?
So
what about
that's what I would tell people if you're going to buy a rental property. Get somebody, look it up on chat or something. Like get somebody that knows how to run CapEx. Get somebody that knows how to run expenses appropriately, and then okay, yeah, I've got taxes, insurance, like CapEx, cleaning and maintenance, like all of the things that you're going to have come out of that. And then you have an actual NOI, you've actually got your
net operating income.
Yeah. And then, okay, this is good. And I made $12 last month.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit like high level 1,000-foot overview about CapEx, like what it roughly is? Yeah.
So what I tend to do, or like at the beginning, what you like to do is, so all CapEx is basically the expensive things to maintain. So like water heater, HVAC, roof, or swamp cooler,
siding.
Siding, concrete, all of those kind of big expenses. And so what you do is you kind of take all of those and like the life expectancy versus how much it takes to maintain that. So if it's
like a $20,000 roof, you expect to replace it 25 years. You need to set aside $1,000 a month.
Right. So you're going to go through it. Yeah. You're going to go through and say, hey, this is about how much it's going to cost me every year to escrow that money so that I have that so it's not a surprise when I do, get to that point. So a lot of times I like to run high level numbers with my investors before we even go see a property. So if we can't make those numbers work, then we don't even go see it. Right.
Yeah. It's like you can't buy this property. The numbers don't work.
Yeah. A lot of times you're 20 on a single family, condo, townhome, house. You're going to probably be 20 to 25% on your expense ratio. So if you're running an expense ratio less than 25%, I would tell you're probably doing it wrong.
And 25% being
of your total income.
Of the total income.
Yes. So, and that's what a lender is going to give to someone too. So like when people are like, oh, well, how do you buy two more? Right? Like, how are you going to do that? How are you buying two more? I get that question a lot from people who are not experienced investors. And that's what the lender is going to give you. So they're going to
qualify 75% of the income.
75% of your income. So if you're getting $1,000 a month, they're going to give you credit for $750 a month. And that's because they know that type of a property or an asset is going to cost you around 25% to operate. Yep. And so
repairing things, or also potentially turnover, right? If you have someone turn over and it takes a month or two, they have to calculate that in too. So
vacancy cost. Yeah. Vacancy cost is your most expensive cost. Vacancy cost is always expensive. That's another thing that I feel like I explain a lot to people. Is like if they're like, hey, I don't want to lower the price, and then we're vacant another 3 weeks, I say, or even a month sometimes. Like in the wintertime, we do vacancy cost in the winter is always worse than in the summer. But you could have a lot of times, depending on your price range, dropped your price by $100 a month, where last week I was going to drop it 30 or 40 or 50. You know what I mean? If you go,
you drop it $50 a month, that's costing you $600 in rent. But if it takes you a month to rent it out on a $2,000 a month rent, you lost $2,000. That's 3 times as expensive as just lowering the rent $50.
So that's the conversation I have a lot with owners that are like real stuck on a price. And usually I give it to them. They're not stuck on a price because they're just like these greedy landlords. A lot of times their margins teeny. You know what I mean? They're like, well, my payment is $36.50 a month, so I need to get $36.50 a month. I'm like, you actually have to get more than that.
You get 25% more than that.
You actually need more than that. But also, like when you get that, when you get that close, I think a lot of times the perception for a tenant is, oh, these greedy landlords, they're, trying to make all this money on us. And really, I would tell you most of the time, they're just covering their, they're just covering their
Well, and I've seen
mortgage.
where people have like emergency been selling a property because they're like, oh crap, we had to replace
Fire
the
sale.
roof.
Yep.
$20,000. We don't have that. We need to get our money back. Right. And so it's like, yeah, they're taking a risk and sometimes they don't manage that risk properly.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're getting kicked out because they're selling the property emergency in the middle. It's like, oh crap. I thought this landlord was greedy and maybe they just made a bad financial decision.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's something
you got to know your numbers so
I have
well.
dealt with that a lot too. Where you just think, or even if somebody just doesn't want to own it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like they just don't want
Like they
to.
inherited a property and they're like,
and
whatever.
they're like, it just, at the end of the day, not trying to ruin anyone's life. Like they're not trying to kick you out. That's just a lot of times you end up with people that don't understand that, but is what it is.
It is what it is.
Process, go into commercial.
Yes.
And then you're not dealing with people's housing.
Well, so that was something when I bought my first property and was telling my uncle about it, because he's a realtor and has been for a long time. He was in California, now he's in Utah, and he's retired. But he was telling me that when he was younger, right, and he made a little bit of money at his job, and he was like, he bought a couple of rental properties, and he was renting to like single. He's like, this is so great. I'm helping like single moms have cheaper rent. And then he had a couple of them where things went weird and they like didn't pay for a couple months, and then turned to like, I haven't collected rent on this property for 6 months because I'm trying to be nice. And when he got rid of those properties, eventually he said, never again will I do that. And so he only does like high end stuff. Like for a while I rented, I did the insurance for a property he bought out in Immigration Canyon, and it was like a huge mansion, and they were like renting to like basketball teams.
Yes.
Volleyball teams from out of state that would come and stay a week, play a couple of games at local, whatever. Like that was a sort of, now he doesn't care if someone doesn't pay or it's like, I don't care. It's a volleyball team. I don't care. It's a college. I don't care. It's a
business.
It's a rapper. It's like, this is true about, I don't have to worry about, right. Where his mindset before, and there's landlords for everything between, right? You have to figure out what you're comfortable with and what you want to do. And obviously what you're able to afford if you're trying, but that was an interesting story that really changed my thought about, because this is people's lives. It's people's lives. It's important, and you want to treat them fairly, but you also don't want to be taken advantage of, like you said. And so that situation, it could have been nicer to have a property manager to insist, hey, here's rent. Hey, there's a late fee. Hey,
it just creates a very, very solid barrier. You know what I mean? If you have a good property manager, it just creates a very solid barrier. Like that property manager is not like, we post people between the 8th and the 10th every month. So like if rent is due on the 1st, it's late on the 5th at 5 p.m. And if you haven't paid by the 8th, you're getting a notice that's a 3-day pay or vacate. Like you're getting posted. And so,
and if not, if you're doing it yourself, you have to, there's laws about, you have to post a certain amount of time. You have to this. And if you haven't done those things, you can't actually evict them, even if they haven't paid rent. So that's the other thing is if you're managing yourself, you have to make sure you're familiar. And that's something that I regrettably
either that or you have to hire a lawyer. And that, and I would tell that to everybody if they are in a position where it's like either you're doing the eviction or you're hiring a lawyer. I would pay the $1,200, the top end. $1,200 to hire a lawyer. Most lawyers, you're probably $750, you know what I mean, to hire somebody. And that is going to cost you way less headache, because then all of a sudden you've removed this, like you are not the one communicating with the tenant anymore. You're not yet, like you go post that, you file the thing, and then you just follow up with your lawyer. You just say, where's this at? Where are we at? You know what I mean? And you're not, we pretty much shut off, like even for us, we'll communicate with the tenant, but anything financial, all of a sudden we are not responsible anymore. It has to go through the law office. And I just think that creates a very safe barrier for people. So I would tell people to hire someone. If you're in that position, just hire them.
If it ever happens.
Do not, if you file the paperwork 2 days late, or if you know what I mean? Like you're saying, it has to be done correctly.
It's a very precise matter.
And then they have time to respond. So then they have a certain number of, days that they get to respond to, each thing. And then is there going to be a court hearing? Is it going to go non-contested? You know what I mean? It's just not worth doing it yourself. Again, back to experience.
Yeah. Okay. I had one or two more questions I really wanted to ask about.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out which ones are the most important because there's so many. Okay. So I watched the TV episode that you were on, and one interesting thing was a lady you talked with was talking about staging properties. And she was talking about adding like plants and making sure windows and blinds were open for natural lighting. Are there any weird I don't know, like staging tips or things that you do to help sell a property quicker? No, it's a totally different angle.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to stage a property. I usually pay staging service because I just feel like they usually do a really good job. There's different kinds of staging. So like, depending on, like if you're a couple $1 million versus, your average, like $750,000-ish, 500, 750, like that's a different type of staging. So, I love to stage. Not all owners want to stage. Because obviously if I cover that cost, then my commission, I have a tiered based commission structure. So I just say, hey, essentially if you just want nothing, and you want me to throw it on the MLS and
do the paperwork,
pay. Yeah. And pay for, I won't list anything that doesn't have professional photography. So always professional photography. But, if you just want me to do that and answer phone calls, then that's, drastically less tier than if we're going in and we're staging and we're doing multiple open houses and we're doing, what I mean? So kind of just a tiered system. And so some owners don't want it. So, like that commission, like if I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to pay, thousands of dollars to have it staged, and then you're paying ongoing fees for that staging. So if I'm going to do that and I'm going to take that risk, then my commission structure is going to be different than if I am not staging and we're not doing, open houses and all that kind of stuff. So I would say certainly if you can stage it, I think I think it makes a difference. Certainly the open houses, I really like, this is a little bit controversial, I think. Some agents really think that open houses sell properties. Other agents like have all of these things that say they don't sell properties. I honestly just think it's very convenient. And I like to do them. I like to have them. It's very convenient to have people just open. It's once, twice, 3 times, depending on how long you're listed. But I've had a few real tough sales this past year, just with the market shifting and everything like that. And I would say you really have to pay attention. You want to be knowing every week, like, what is around you, like what's your competition, who went active, who went under contract, what do those properties look like? A lot of times on those properties that aren't selling, I'm like going to walk the neighborhood, the houses that are around us. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to figure out, okay, well, I walked this one. I pulled it as a comp. Is it actually a comp? Like we need to walk it and see, like, was the carpet eaten by a dog? Or, what I mean? Like, like the pictures can kind of hide a lot. They can, look real nice. This room can look gigantic, and then you get there and it looks teeny, So I would say for me on any sale, it's important to pay attention to all of those things, but certainly staging makes a big difference. Photographs make a huge difference. I love doing the videos. The floor plans. I think everybody should have a floor plan on there.
I look at.
Do a floor plan.
Every single property I look at.
Everybody needs a floor plan.
My wife and I love to look at Zillow, and we're just looking at stuff. And if it doesn't have a floor plan or doesn't have good photos, you just pass it off.
Even if it has good photos, it's like, is that bedroom at the top north, or is that bedroom at the top south? Like, I don't know where that bedroom is.
I see 2 photos of bathrooms. Zillow says there's 4 bathrooms. Where are the other 2 bathrooms?
Yeah. Yes, you need. So
it says unfinished basement, but there's not a single photo of the basement. I want to see, like, is there framing? Is there drywall? Is there insulation? Like, is it just bare concrete? Is it been painted concrete, or just like, what does it at least look like?
Yeah. And sometimes you don't want to go like, like sometimes people are just browsing and they just want to see. Other times it's like, do I want to take the time? Like a lot of times people are moving a pretty big distance. So do they want to, drive down to that property to take a look at it, when you could have said, these 4 bedrooms actually share a bathroom, and you could have seen that on a floor plan and not been interested in it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want 4 children sharing 1 bathroom.
Exactly.
I want 2 bathrooms for that, And so
you need to be honest about it. Because if you get 300 people that come and look at the property and all of them say no because of that bathroom thing, if you made it more obvious there's 4 bedrooms sharing a bathroom,
probably wouldn't have had
you're only going to see 40 showings or however many showings, right? I mean, exactly. But you're going to qualify those people that are looking at your property. And so the people that are coming looking at aren't going to be surprised and be like, why did I waste my time coming looking at the property? I'm clearly not interested in this. Why wasn't it more obvious, right? Like, you obviously don't want to highlight flaws of a property, but you want to be honest about it.
Yes. And the floor plan, I feel like, is just so helpful. Because then even if you forget, you know what I mean? And kind of how big the closets are, you kind of know all the things. So floor plans for sure. That just comes like with I always do it with my photography package. It's just worth every every cent.
Or you see someone that like says there's 4 bedrooms, but there's really 3 bedrooms and an office. It's like, this doesn't have a window and it doesn't have a closet.
no
It's
egress.
not legally a bedroom. You
No
can't say it's got 4 bedrooms.
I can't get out of here in a fire. No, that's
Love it.
certainly
Egress.
important for sure. Yeah, that's the thing. It was like, it has to be, if it's considered a bedroom, egress. The closet is important, but not like an appraiser. If you stuck an armoire in something, they're okay with that, calling that a bedroom. It's the window. It's the actual emergency egress that they're going to qualify that as a bedroom. Yeah. And probably too, like sometimes, and this is based on an appraisal, whether or not they're going to let you have it as a bedroom. But sometimes they won't give you something as a bedroom because it's too small, or they think of, that's too small. It's not going to fit a bed or whatever. But I've had some pretty small ones pass as bedrooms if they've got a window. So it just depends.
That's funny.
Depends on that.
It's like, this is 5 foot by 6.5 feet.
Right.
It's a bedroom because it has a window.
Yes. You're going to have to sleep on a beanbag.
Yeah.
It's all right.
That's funny.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Wow.
And then decluttering. That would probably, if you're going to live in a property, it's always easier to sell property vacant.
Yes.
Vacant and staged is like ideal. But if you're going to live there, I would say declutter. Just everything, even things that you think you don't need to get out of there, just like put them in your garage. People don't care about the garage. Like you'll walk through and the garage can be
people will just assume, they're moving.
Yeah, stacked
they've got their stuff in there.
Yeah, but like you just get it out of the house.
Don't want it.
Get it out of the house.
So I know a guy that only sells occupied properties. Usually they're like hoarder houses, or they clearly need work. And and he'll be like, the comps in this market are 645,000.
Yeah.
We're selling this one for 350. Like
Right.
so much, but it's because they'll do photos through the house, and there'll be like people eating cereal in the photos, right?
Yes.
And they'll be like like clearly a hoarder house. There'll be like holes in walls and stuff like he's just. That's his whole market. I help people sell their houses that are currently occupied, that have problems and whatnot. Yeah. They're always as is sales, right? Like it's a weird little niche he's had, and he sends me emails, and so I think they're fascinating. I'll look through them like, how did they okay a photographer to come and do a walk through their house, right? But
and they're just standing there.
But, right, if they wanted to sell that house instead of for 370 for the 650, it's likely worth after it's repaired.
Yeah.
Get the people out of it. They might be able to sell it for more if they make it look nicer, right? And then maybe, hey, some of these repairs are vital. Yeah. If you I've had situations where people tell me, they're like, yeah, we put $30,000-$40,000 into repairs and paint, and it sells for $100,000 more. Right. Right. Because it is worth that much to some degree, because someone has to move in and do the repairs. They have to deal with the inconvenience, right? It is worth that much money. And people are like, oh, it's crazy. I could have just done it myself. I'm like, but most people don't want to move into a property and have to deal with construction and repairs. No. They want to move in ready, right? Yes. Move in ready is a big label because it's convenient, and they sell for more because of that. Right. Like finished basements, they sell for more. They're more convenient. I don't have to finish it myself. Yeah. It might cost you 20. I had a neighbor that recently sold their place. They're like 4 doors down from me. They sold their place. I am shocked, like in the market that they sold for how much money they did. I think they sold it for like $580, and the new build a year ago was like $490. I'm like, how do they sell for that much? They finished the basements. Yeah. He had custom installed, built himself, like cabinetry into a wall, like underneath where the TV goes up. Like little upgrades. They had painted a couple of the kids' rooms to look really nice. And so it was like move-in ready with a studio with an accent wall. And it was all these things. And some guy moved in and paid $60,000 more than any other house in the neighborhood had ever sold for. Yeah. But like it was move-in ready and nice. And people think that's not worth it, but it absolutely is worth it.
I find that especially right now. So I would say, like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even 3, you know what I mean? Like when the market was just so crazy, interest rates were so much better. People would buy whatever. Like they don't care. They're willing to do the work. Now that we're into like a more balanced market, you do not see as many people want to do the work, just like you're saying. I often feel like most of the time right now, if people walk through, and there's more on market, right? Like our inventory is higher. And so you're competing. Like you have to compete now, and you have to present in a way that is going to be attractive to buyers. And that is a big one. Like people don't want to do a lot of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, absolutely. They don't want to deal with repairs. They don't want to, they're like, I just want a turnkey property as a renter.
Maybe paint. Like sometimes you can get people to wrap their brain around paint, right? Yeah. But like paint's hard too, because if you walk into a hot pink room, sometimes you're like,
paint that
I can
wall
paint
white.
this. And then, I mean, painting is hard. It's not hard. It's time consuming
Yeah.
though. It takes a lot of time. So I think, yeah, sometimes you get people like wrap their brains around some stuff, but I think for the most part, they'll start to see little repairs and they don't always know how to assess like how much those things are going to actually cost them. And so then it either just gets blown out of proportion and they're like, oh, this is going to cost all this money to repair or all this time or both. And then it's just something that kind of falls off the map for them. So I'd say, yeah, as move-in ready as you can make your properties, that's also a good thing to do right now for sure.
Absolutely makes sense.
Attractive. So,
okay, I know we're wrapping up on time, so I kind of want to leave an open-ended question before we wrap up. Current market mistakes people are making, like what are the recurring things that you're constantly having to deal with that you just want people to know and understand in any of these areas of real estate? Very.
That probably on an investor side, probably your cash flow is going to be almost nothing. If you're going to put down 20%, if you're going to house hack, if you're going to be, that's a big one. Like when people are going to house hack, move into one side, rent the other, rent an ADU, something like that. Do not expect a cash flow on that property for years.
Yeah.
So you cannot expect to come in and put 5% down on a property at the current interest rates and cash flow in years, like a long time.
I know investors
subsidize your income.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah.
But you are not going to, even if you move out. So you bought a duplex, you bought a legal duplex. You're going to rent both sides of it on the other side. You are not going to cash flow that property if you put 5% down on it. If you put 5% down to move in, I would just tell you you're going to be negative on that for at least 5 years. Yeah. Even if rents continue to go up, you're not going to be in a position where you're going to cash flow that property. I feel like I explained that one a lot. And then
I'll have to make that a clip. Just share that with everyone. Most of my
investors are like putting 30%. Like if they want right now, I am looking at 30% if you want cash flow.
Whoa.
Which is insane. That's a lot to put down on a property to make $12 a month,
Yeah. Well, if you're buying a $400,000 property, it's like, you need to bring 125 grand to the table to make $12 a month.
$12 a month.
Yeah.
So think of it as a long game. Certainly, like the real estate investing is not something like you're not talking dividend funds. You're not talking S&P 500. You're not talking about 20% returns. You're not talking about 10% returns. You're not talking about based on the risk. Like if you're investing in real estate is a long game. And it will work. Yeah. It will work. It just is a long game. It's the time that you spend, and I don't remember who said it, but it's not about timing real estate. It is about the time you spend in real estate. So for me, like I bought my first one in 2006. So we are in an excellent equity position today. But like we're talking about 20 years.
20 years, yeah. 2 decades.
I've been doing this for 20 years, So so I would say it's a long game. And just it has to be something that's like, yes, I get that I'm going to have repairs. Yes, I'm going to it is just part of my overall portfolio. Like your financial guy, like it's part of my overall investment strategy. Whether you want that to be a big portion of your investment strategy or small portion of your investment strategy. That's probably one. Overall state of the market, I would say, is pretty healthy. Like if you are pricing things appropriately, if you're a seller, if you price things appropriately, they will move. Yes, days on market is higher. Yes, we don't have as many showings. Yes, we're not going to have crazy 27 offers in 12 hours. Like we're not in that market.
It's not 2021.
Yes, but it will sell. Like, and if you have somebody that's experienced and understands the market and is good, but like, there's a lot of good agents out there. You know what I mean? If you have somebody that knows the market and knows how to, strategically change places when you need to or adjust or, you know what I mean? And is paying attention to all of the things around you and your competition and what's happening, like it will sell. You know what I mean? So don't panic. It will sell. It will may take a little bit longer. But overall, say the market's fairly healthy. I would say it's not a buyer's market. It's not a seller's market. I feel like it's very balanced. The offers and back and forth, the banter, the negotiating, whatever you want to call it, is very healthy. It's very healthy right now. You have people that come in and lowball and like you can't make a deal work, and then you have but you have sellers that are up in the night too, that like they're never going to get that for their property still. And I think if you just come into it with a realistic perspective of like this is really where the market is, you're gonna do a lot better than trying to overprice your property or even underpricing. Sometimes it's not a great strategy either.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's it.
That is wisdom.
Great market. Utah's a great market.
Utah's awesome to be in.
Utah's
I
a
love
great
it.
market.
I love it.
Overall,
I love this place.
would believe that. Yeah, for
It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom, your experience. This has been cool. I feel like we probably could go way longer, but I know we're out of time, and I promised I would keep you for only a little bit of time, and we've gone over that.
Well, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Someone's listening and they're wanting to get in touch with you to like help me buy a property or sell a property or get a rental. Sure. How can they get a hold of you? I mean, we'll put it in the show notes descriptions too. But
so yeah, Amy Kendall. I think my Instagram handle is Investor Amy because I've been doing that for a long time. And I would say you can Google me. I'm unfortunately sometimes for the spammers very easy to find.
Oh no.
But yeah, I would just say Google Acadia Property Management is my company's name.
ACADIA.
Yep, Acadia, like Acadia National Park. That's what it's named after.
Gotcha.
So Acadia Property Management or Amy Kendall. I'm a broker. So I'm with my brokerage licenses under KW. So any Google search usually I'll pop up. So
sweet,
thank you.
Yeah, if we want specific links, like I could put it in the Instagram handle or whatnot. So I'll get that from you afterwards, and we'll throw it in the show notes. And
yeah,
we'll be on. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
this is great.
Thanks.